Good morning, Blue Crew. Beautiful morning today.
Hello.
And we're gonna talk about something I've been thinking about when I'm watching a couple videos on. I by no means am a brand snob. I bought a Harley because that's what I want. And I like it. Now, granted, it's not the newest kid on the block, but it still turns heads. Now, I was sitting there watching a couple videos this morning. On the Indian Challenger. Sorry, I like doing that. But I was watching a couple videos on the Indian Challenger. Indian versus Road Glide. Road Glide versus Indian. And me personally, I'm not a fixed fairing kind of guy, obviously. I just traditionally like the way that the Harley Batwing looks. I think it's a very good look for the bike. But it's my choice. But on top of that, we've got, you know, sitting in my garage, I've got a 1998 Honda Shadow that I'm doing a rebuild on. So I'm not considering myself a brand snob, more say. But, you know, there are some people out there that are just hardcore Harley, and I know I'm gonna upset a lot of people about this, which, you know, that's why it's a public forum. Everybody's open to their own opinion. Me personally, I mean, I like all of them. Just like currently we're looking at another bike right now. Unveil for that one's far in the future right now. And I'm looking between either a supermoto or either a sport bike, just to add to the collection, because the Shadow that I'm doing is going to be a bobbed out build, but it's a dedicated build, and there's a reason why I'm not doing that one on videos right now. Is because there's kind of a personal tie to that bike. I mean, you'll eventually see me riding it. It's not going to be the traditional blue like I'm going to try to keep on my bikes at, because it's a dedication build. But yeah, I was watching the videos on the Indians this morning. I was watching the videos on the Road Glides, and I gotta say, and this is for somebody who really, really likes their Harley, Indian has brought their A game. I mean, considering, you know, yeah, they may be the country's oldest motorcycle dealer, but they haven't been in business consistently. I think I did the research. I think the company actually went bankrupt 4 times over the lifespan of Indian. Granted, they may have gone out of business, and Polaris owns them now. Polaris is turning that company around. And I really think that there's going to be a hard competition between Indian and Harley. I mean, there already is. I mean, right now Harley's got the dealerships, they've got the customer base, they've got the parts backup if something should break down. But Indian's coming, and I'm seeing a big change. I mean, me and my buddy I ride with, honestly, I think there's too much plastic on it. Now granted, mine, yes, is an older Street Glide. It's actually the second year that the Street Glide was introduced, and it is a 2007. However, I've still got a lot of steel on this bike. I think pretty much the only plastic I got is the bat wing and the saddle bags. Everything else I've got on this bike is steel. A couple things I would like to see Harley introduce, other than on their CVO line, because there's only a granted few that can own a CVO. I am not one of those people. One, because they're custom paint job. Two, is because I don't see paying almost $45,000 for a motorcycle, and I can go in the aftermarket and get more torque, more speed, more horsepower out of a motorcycle. I mean, yeah, they just released the 131, and Traveling Tall, he put a video out comparing the specs between the 131 and that kit that he put on his bike, and I gotta say, I'm impressed with the kit he put on his bike. He's got more torque, more power to weight ratio than the 131 could even put out. Now, I started looking for kits for blue, and I found a couple of S&S kits, and I think the biggest I'm going to go is 110. I mean, granted, I'm still riding on the old chassis. I've got the old thin rear tire. I don't have the Rushmore Project bike. So I'm thinking right now I'm just going to put a 110 on it. That's pretty much the biggest motor they made at the time this bike was conceived. I'm just going to live with it. I don't want to go whole hog. I mean, there is a 128 kit out for this bike, but I don't see a need for it. But getting back to the subject, I'm really impressed with what Indian has done. And then on top of that, I mean, there's a lot of Japanese cruisers out there that, I mean, they do great. I mean, I learned on a Honda Shadow 750. That was my very first purchased bike because the Honda Rebel 250 was way too small. I'm 6'2". I'd look like Magilla Gorilla on a Honda Shadow or a Honda Rebel. So I had to get something a little bit bigger. But the thing is what I try to tell people is you need to respect the bike when you get on it. If you're learning how to ride, you don't want to get on something stupid, size, ridiculous, and get on it and say, hey, here we go. I'm going to get on a Yamaha R1 and I'm going to learn how to ride. Yeah, probably not the best bike to learn with. I mean, I'm looking at R6s and GSXR 600s right now because I don't need any more horsepower than that. I'm not going to do a track day. I'm going to use it for basically just a ride around town cruiser. And that's all you need. I definitely don't see myself taking any long trips on it. But any of you who ride sport bikes, please drop in the suggestions if anybody's got something that will fit a 6'2" guy without scrunching them up. Because I want something a little bit faster. I got my cruiser. This is my trip bike. I'm gonna have my bobber, which is the one that's the Honda Shadow that I'm building right now. And I want something fun and torquey. And eventually when, you know, me and my wife decide we want to hang it all up and just buy it, go down to one bike, we'll trade them all in. And well, I don't think this one's getting traded in. I don't think I could ever part with this bike. I've got a natural love affection for this bike, and I really think this bike and me were destined for each other. It was sitting in the showroom right after I got wrecked on that Honda VTX, and this bike was there. So I mean, it is what it is. But good job, Indian. Good job. Harley, step up your A game. Get those lock and saddlebags on the standard bikes. I mean, Indian's got them. How about do it for us? Or at least make a kit that we can install. I mean, I'm looking for all the frivolities. I mean, not so much for my bike. It's guaranteed it's a lot older. But just gotta add those aftermarket accoutrements. And I think that would be a good accessory for Harley, is to just kind of step up their game a little bit. I mean, they're close. I mean, they're starting to bend a little bit and make things, you know, where they're kind of the liquid cooled heads and all this stuff. You know, good for y'all. Good for stepping up to that. But, you know, when Polaris has got a liquid cooled engine out there that's putting out more horsepower, I'm kind of leaning hard towards that side of the fence. Just because I've had, you know, Hondas and Kawasaki's and, you know, Suzuki's that have a better motor. I mean, you can run a Honda engine on almost no oil and the Joker will get you home. I know I'm gonna get criticized for this. I don't care. I've got thick skin. I've got thick skin. But I mean, I do kind of pick on the Indian, you know, a little bit, because of the fixed fairing on the Challenger. I like everything about the Challenger, the saddlebags, everything, but the fairing. Come on, Indian, it looks like a headlamp. I think Matt Laidlaw posted on his post a few months back, right after they released the Challenger, that there was a picture of the Indian and a picture of a headlamp, and they were the same thing. It's like the engineer said, hey, here we go, we'll just use this. Yeah, probably not the best idea. I mean, granted, I understand you can't copy completely what Harley did, but... And then on the flip side, I mean, Harley could add power window to the front of it. I would love that on the front of my bike. I've got a buddy who's got an Indian, I think it's a Chieftain. I think that's their version of this bike. And he's got that power window on the front of it. And it's nice. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that for today. Y'all have a good one. Keep the shiny side up. Deuces.